Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rolling Through Negotiations podcast. This is episode, drumroll please, 96, and we're recording this one in August 2025. Welcome, I'm Matthew Karakalakis, and I'm the host of Rolling Through Negotiations. I'm a lawyer working in commercial law and dispute resolution, and I'm also an accredited mediator. And I know firsthand what it's like to navigate high-pressure deals. It's exactly what we explore here on the podcast. So, if this is your first time listening, welcome aboard, high five, welcome to the tribe, because I hope you're really going to find something helpful in this episode, and I think you'll love it. If you're a returning listener, welcome back, high five, you're a legend. Today we connect with Sister Sharon Brindley. She's the founder and CEO of Jala Jala Treats, and she's the co-founder of Timber Scope, Feral Management, and TrapEase. She's an amazing businesswoman with contagious enthusiasm, and I think you're going to really love what Sharon shares with us. Hearing about Sharon's journey is going to be amazing. We also go into diversity. We chat about the way culture impacts business and knowing who you are. Sharon also shares her tips that she's learned. Actually, let's say this, they're more than tips. Her principles that she's learned through her business journey. And I think you learn and probably even agree to these when you reflect on your own experiences. Before we get into this episode, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands. Let's pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I'd also like to acknowledge the Kaurna peoples whose lands we're recording this episode from. Let's roll. Sharon, welcome to Rolling Through Negotiations.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming.
It has been, and you know what? I'm really excited to hear your business journey as well, because being an Aboriginal woman, minority of the minority, and I remember working with you when you first started your first business of Cooee Café. And you've gone through the journey of being a very enthusiastic, amazing woman who's very green in business. And years down the track, you have some experiences. You understand more about business. And I was wondering if you can share, especially for our listeners who might be thinking, you know what, they don't know much about business. How does it happen? What's the journey like? If you can share about your business journey and what do you know now through business that you didn't know at the very beginning?
Yeah, this is true. When I started on sheer passion and then drive to just try and create my little patch of change for our culture. And although I knew the cafe space, I didn't know the whole business aspects of it, and especially when I started Jala Jala. Oh, there's been lots of ups and downs and wrongdoings and then getting things right. So, which I think is a normal journey, to be honest. Thing I would share now is don't trust everybody at face value. As sad as that is, I've been burnt a few times in trusting people without doing homework because I think they have that same honest passion that I have. So make sure that you get them to do, like those legal agreements, call you and get those sort of legal agreements in place, because it's happened to me with a few products that I've looked at making along the way, including cheese. So I was a bit naive when it come to that and a bit too trusting.
Yeah, so you've learnt through the school of hard knocks that it's really important to get your contracts right. And I agree with you, Sharon. I think that getting your contracts written for your business deals is an absolute integral part of the process, because a lot of people can speak the right words at the beginning, but I think the process of having a contract written does two things. First and foremost, it brings the verbalized negotiation, the words between the parties, from being just up in the air as verbal statements or in a bunch of emails into a consolidated document place where everybody can read and be sure to be on the same page. And I think that process of getting the contract written is a fantastic process in terms of communication and bringing the parties together. And then if an issue comes up at that stage, then it's a lot clearer where that issue lies. But do you think that it's also really important, and have you experienced in your own business journey, the ways of identifying the other party's values to make sure at the very beginning of the process they're really aligned? Is that something that you think is really
I
important as
think
well?
so. Like when I had the cafe, I wanted, I made everything like the biscuits and my own dips and everything. But it was like I want to have a cheese. I don't want to be putting things on top. I went to a small business like myself and went through it. I was very clear this was mine and can we work on something? And then once we finally got a really good cheese and I got as excited and went to pick it up, he just tried to sell it to me wholesale and took it to market himself. And so I trusted what I thought was a small business, and it was a very hard lesson to learn, but a lesson that I feel that I needed to learn to sadly, you can't trust people.
Yeah, and that's a really important part, I think, of a negotiation process. When you go into another party and saying, hey, I've got this great idea, I've got this great product, this is what we can do. If you want to get the other party involved in the process, you have to give them some information. You have to let them know what's going on. And when you do that, that's when the risk can come about. Are they going to pinch your idea? I think that getting a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement at that stage of the process can be really helpful, and making sure that they sign the document that says, hey, they're not going to use any of this information, these ideas that you share with them, other than to speak with you about it and to come up with a business plan together. They can't do anything with that information beyond this. So
Yeah.
what are some of the contracts that you've been involved in, Sharon, that have really worked well, and why do you think they have worked well?
I think those confidentiality agreements, because now that I have my own manufacturing facility, we actually produce products for other clients as well. So we have those things in place, and even my staff are having confidentiality agreements because they have their recipes to be able to produce. So knowing that anything that any ideas, because I'm working on my own indigenous flavored, soft scented little chocolates now, remain with me. So even if chocolatiers change, they're my recipes. So I think now I think sometimes we do need to learn a lesson. Like I know I do in certain ways, and that was many years ago. So now I know that that's an easy, simple process that I can get done.
If you look back at your business journey and you were to say the three pivotal lessons or three key principles that you've learned that really do help you succeed in business, what would those principles be?
One would be those contracts. Another is don't rush into anything, like, because you know me, I was like a bull at a gate. I created 2 ton of chocolate before I even had anyone to buy it. I did sell it, but it was the scariest thing. So having the money in place and having the processes in place, so slowing it down would have been, I think, important. Or location for me, especially going forward, looking at tourism location before. So I lease currently, which can be very costly, but at the same time, it gives you time to develop, and then the next one I'll be buying. So
Right.
that slowing it down again. It's taken me with Jala Jala 6 years to figure out exactly where I want to be. I think they're cleaning the windows outside. Sorry.
That's all right.
Off the Sofitel.
We can't see them, but hey, maybe they can get some
Okay.
great business tips from you, Sharon, as we yarn, and they can become window cleaning business owners in no time.
And I think the other one is staffing, making sure that you're doing your due diligence, and I can never say that word, but checking your staff. Don't just rely on their resume. Once again, we come back to that. Anyone can put anything down. And having those contracts in place and doing the trials, because otherwise you can find yourself in a bit of a pickle where you could be stuck with someone that you don't necessarily doesn't fit with your values.
Yeah, I hear working people out, understanding their values, making sure that they have a similar vision to what you have has been a big part of what you've learned through business. So when you speak about the contracts, we've already explained that's a big part of what the contracts actually do. And when you're letting your staff into your inner circle, making sure that you understand what their interests are, because you negotiate at the very beginning in terms of that hiring process, and then you're also negotiating on a daily basis, moment by moment basis. And if you don't have the right staff with the right values, with the right common vision as to what you have in your business, that negotiation can just completely fall to pieces. And I think that in business, when you look at risks, some of the biggest risks arise in relation to a business's own staff, business's clients, stakeholders. So it's kind of like the internal risks, and then you've got the risks with who you're supplying to, who you're working with, and you want to try and get those things worked out best you can so your business can be set up for success. I like the way,
100%.
Sharon, I like the way you're saying about don't rush the process, because if you look at businesses in social media, people love speaking these stories, hey, my overnight success, but hearing you speak and watching your journey, it's a step-by-step approach to business success, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been. I think I learned quite early on when you'd go to different conferences or, different things, and you'd hear people up on the, little stage when they were doing the talking, and you'd hear about all the success. And I would go home literally, went back in those days, Matthew, and cry and think, how can I be doing this so wrong? Like, mine is nothing like that. And so I started to, I'm always quite open. So I started to talk to everyone about what I was doing wrong, and only to hear that other people had all those same issues. So if anything, I started talking about more about what I was doing wrong and the mistakes I was making than I was talking about the good things, because it related to everybody. Because when we forecast ourselves, we always do the pretty, glorified version, but underneath that is a lot of rolling up your sleeves, grit, getting things wrong. Like, I went and brought a whole heap of vodka, which was infused with native ingredients, had that produced, because that was a sheer, I was sick of non-Indigenous people capitalizing on our flavors. And I just said, right, I'm bringing out a vodka. Silly move, but I did it. And so that was one of the mistakes I talked about, when I talk to people, of don't rush into these things like I did, because it can be costly.
And do you say going into vodka was a silly move because the alcoholic industry is not an industry that you are aware of? Or why do you say it was a silly move?
I did it because I drink myself, and I drink vodka, and that's why I had a vodka created, and it's a desert lime macadamia. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's still out there?
No, I have
Yeah.
I have a bottle. You can try some tomorrow.
Yeah. So, but what if there's someone listening and they think, man, this vodka sounds amazing. Can they go out there and buy it?
They can offer me in gift packs, but because of the way I did it, was probably it was more anger, because every bottle I looked at was not owned by, in this particular bottle shop, not owned by an Indigenous company that was utilizing our native flavors. And so that's why I did it. So I didn't do all my research and everything. I just found a great distiller who made it for me, not understanding excise tax, not understanding all those things. But it wasn't my passion or my what they call your true north anyway. So it was costly. So now I have a lot of vodka that I don't have the time and energy to push, because that's chocolate for me, chocolate and tea.
It's
So if
interesting
you
how
want to
you...
buy 900 bottles, I've got them for sale. So
Cool. And I love the other thing that I'm noticing in you, Sharon, is even before we started recording, you're already pitching some beautiful chocolates, saying they're great for lawyers. You've pitched about 4 things in this episode. Guys listening, and you can see the other thing that Sharon has learned in her business journey is to be an absolute sales guru. And is it right, Sharon? You have to be able to
make the
sell
most
to
of
have a
every
business.
opportunity.
Yeah. Because, and the other thing is, we're saying this jokingly, I think part of the humour comes from the bad rap sales get, but the truth is selling is the beautiful thing. If we weren't selling, then how can we possibly help people with the products that we're offering?
Yeah, and I think too, because it's although I'm directing it kind of like at you in a funny way, you never know who's listening that it may actually appeal to. So
Mm.
if you get an opportunity to speak, certainly do, because sometimes it's the person you don't think that is going to actually be one of your biggest clients.
And how about this? What is a sales strategy the Sharon of today knows about and uses that the Sharon first going into business didn't know about?
Oh, to be honest, it hasn't changed a lot because I've always been very forward in my honesty, but I'd say strategy would be, taking the most of opportunities and getting people to try. I think my products speak for themselves,
Yeah.
and we just got back from Japan. Um, Sales strategy. I'm not, funnily enough, considering I've done it here, I'm not overly pushy. I like to get to know people first, but I think because I
We
know
should have
you,
a
it's a bit
vote, Sharon.
easier.
We should have a vote amongst our listeners. Who thinks Sharon's no, but
But
I
I
hear
know
you.
you. So I actually, when we went to Japan and we had all the buyers and everything for the Osaka Expo, I was very clear with everybody that I wanted to build a relationship before we began any exporting. I don't want a big rush sale because it's, for me, that feels like other, things in the past. It reminds me of my vodka, and that it could just all crumble if I don't put everything in place, get to know the person who's going to be, representing and selling my product as well. So I'd say a good one would be to get to know who's selling your product, because at the end of the day, they're kind of like an employee or your voice of the product to other people. So
That's really good. And I think that's consistent with what you've been saying since the beginning of our yarn today, knowing the people that you're working with. What are they about? Making sure that they have that alignment. And if I can add, what I've seen in your approach is absolute authenticity. So
thank you.
yeah, putting out there and offering to people. And it's very clear that your background is from hospitality and you have that care of hospitality where you take pride in your product and you want people to enjoy your product because you know that it's good and you care for your product and for people. And that's also something that's really clear just watching you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you.
What does diversity in business mean to you? And I'm really interested to hear this because being an Aboriginal woman and going on this business journey, what does diversity meant and how can we use diversity for good? You speak about the vodka example where you saw a lot of businesses who weren't Aboriginal effectively exploiting Aboriginal ingredients and through anger trying to do something about it. And I think that has a relationship to diversity, but diversity can also be used for real good. And you can do amazing things through embracing that diversity. So how do you see diversity in your business journey?
Or, I mean, even that vodka, for example, if you bring it back, there was a few companies, like at different things I've done throughout the years now, where they have been using native ingredients, and I am very forward, and I start the conversation of who was their supplier. And I'm like, oh, is that an indigenous business? Like, because you're using native, and sometimes that they haven't actually had that aha moment of even acknowledging it, and it's actually had good outcome. Not always, but I can cop it on the chin as well. But for me, within my business, the diversity and cultural diversity, I've grown even more than I thought, and I do this using my voice. I'm so much more confident in using my voice when it comes to this space as well. And for example, when I was in Osaka, I was on stage with on the panel with a IPECTA, and one of the uncles from New Zealand had brought up the Manuka honey, and here I am. I advocate for our native flavors and language, and here he is, crying, not crying out, but speaking out about frustration of this lawsuit that's going on with Manuka, and I can't change what's happening up there with the law. But what I can do, and I spoke to one of the aunties earlier, is I said I can use it as New Zealand Manuka honey and then actually do a collaboration. So I can bring it to a level where I can actually create a bit of change and awareness around Manuka and where it should be. So that is one aspect of it. And the other is even within my own business. It's very multicultural business that my staffing, which I love, the different diversity of trying different foods, and they're also enthused and love learning more about the culture that they're living in. So it's actually been amazing. Like, I have great staff when it comes to that diversity, and they're all women. And that was,
Amazing.
that was just how it panned out, that they were all the best, because we are the best.
Yeah. I think that it's really awesome to be able to have a workforce full of women like you do. And I think that when you have the opportunity of seeing so many women together working towards a common outcome, it's just so incredible, the strength and the unity that you can see in
Yeah,
those sorts of
especially when they're
environments.
different, especially when they're from different cultures. Like, one of my chocolatiers is Vietnamese, and I said, "Oh, I love Vietnamese food, but it's always so Australianized when it's here. I've got to have it in Vietnam." So she makes dishes and brings me in authentic dishes. But she's also the same chocolatier that absolutely loves learning about our culture, the culture where she lives, and infusing and playing with our native ingredients to get it right for me. Like, she's learning how to just get it right and be able to do it herself, because she was so scared at first that it wasn't going to be right for me. But now we've gotten sort of past that, and so that diversity is on both sides. And I've the lady I have now, who's my manager, is a New Zealand, a Māori lady, and she is absolutely loving it in her own right in that way as well. Through that diversity of the differences, we actually are all very, very common, very proud of who we are, and very eager to hear, from each other, and bringing different elements of that into the business.
Yeah, I think it's incredible when we can see commonality amongst different
Mm.
cultures as well. And some of what you've experienced and shared, I think, with this Vietnamese woman as an example, I sense that commonality in cultural ways of doing things. And whilst there's a lot of differences amongst cultures, I also think that there can be some similarities, and I've experienced similarities amongst the older cultures. And I think that diversity is one of the most beautiful things that we have here in Australia. The way that we can walk down the street and get a variety of different food, see people from all different places. I think these similarities also highlight the strength and truth in some of the practices when you do see the commonalities.
I 100% agree, and that's a great way of looking at it. Is what I never want is for that to be filtered down, so it doesn't change. Meaning, like, the authenticity of the food is what makes it amazing. When it's like how I said, and it's like Australianized, it doesn't make me feel like I'm in Vietnam. I want to eat their food. I don't want to eat food that's adapted to me. When I see our dance, I want to see our dance. I don't want to see it done in other ways. And I want it to remain like that. And I think that is one of the fears, that we get lost in place of province and the actual authenticity of each of those different aspects.
Yeah, and that definitely crosses over. You've shared the food and the appreciation for authentic Vietnamese food. And I think that the authenticity absolutely carries over into a whole heap of cultural elements, right? So
Mm.
an example of this is if people want to buy First Nations art, making sure that it's really artwork created by a First Nations person, because if you don't, it's kind of like that corner shop Vietnamese food. It's not the real deal and you're just getting ripped off effectively. But if we can appreciate the culture that is embedded within art, within products, within foods, then I think we can really step forwards into the appreciation of authenticity and the cultural value that really stands with whatever that is that we are embracing. And so I think that if we are blindsided from that authenticity, we lose the appreciation and depth for what it really is.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, and it is one of my worries, because it's not only here. Like every country I go to, their things are slipping away, and so it's taking from those diverse experiences of when you do travel and when you do things. It's taking away all that. So when my grandchildren are older, I want those things to still be as they are, like you said about the dance, and you learnt a sport, and then you learnt a way of being, like they're different.
Mm. Sharon, can you remember a time when you were able to negotiate through the strength of Black excellence in one of your businesses and brands? And I was just wondering if you can remember this kind of time, if you could share what happened and how did Black excellence help in the
A good
negotiation
experience or
process?
a bad experience?
A
Because
good
there's plenty of
experience. Yeah, I'd love
good.
to
Oh,
hear a good
good.
experience. Yeah.
Good. Oh, I'm trying to get some light. I can't see.
Could even be
Good
something you're really
experience.
proud of. And how did that negotiation happen? What did you do that was so really good and something to be proud of through that negotiation process?
I would say because of getting my voice with a Black excellence more so, and standing proud, and always telling the truth, even if I'm calling someone out. Sometimes I can't do it for legal reasons. Um, but I would say that's been a build up, Matthew. I don't think there's just the one. Like now, like I just said, I packed a stage in Osaka Expo in the Canadian room, with all these like elders, and but if you look at the old me who said that I would go home crying because I wasn't where they were, and then slowly, because of my voice and my truth, now I'm getting invited to do a lot more speaking where I am able to be authentically me, and I don't take opportunities where I'm muzzled either.
So good. And I think this is a really good example of that internal negotiation that takes place. Because even when I asked the question, Sharon, I was thinking about, perhaps Sharon's going to share us a story with this great business deal with some third party and how it came about. But I really appreciate how actually you brought the answer to this question back to the development of Sharon, how Sharon has developed and internally negotiated with herself to become the powerhouse that you are. And I really believe that the best negotiations are those that begin within ourselves, where we come from the place of empowerment to affect and cause amazing change around us. And I think that your answer really highlights that principle.
Thank you. Yeah, I like sleeping at night, so I always live my morals. I have told a few big organizations politely where to go. Um, one even is in the air. And that is because I won't lower my morals. I won't sell myself short, and I won't, have my pricing the same as a plain chocolate, um, because it fits in with their budget. I'd rather not be there, and find the right person, and the right person will come along. It's stubborn. I think it's smart stubborn. I'm not a sellout. So if I'm somewhere, I believe in it.
So in this, do you feel like as you've learnt to say no, it's
Mm,
helped you become more empowered?
100%. It's because if I said yes to everything, it takes a piece of me every time I would do it then, if I was doing that, because it would make me crumble. The more I've said no, and not in like an arrogant way, but if things aren't aligning with my values and I say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that, it does help in, although it doesn't help the bank, account at the time, it helps build more strength in me to stand by my product and what I believe in and where I believe it should be.
Sharon, you're deadly. I remember
Thank you.
first meeting you when you started Cooee Cafe. Now you're here, multiple brands, multiple businesses, absolutely deadly. And I think that you're an inspiration for so many. And you've kept your humility in the process. And that's one of the reasons why I've enjoyed asking you some questions about your business journey today, because I feel like a lot of people listening in might be very green, like you were at the beginning, Sharon, but
Yeah,
by
I
being
was
able
crap.
to, I wonder if I don't think you could say crap, to be honest. I think that it's just the inexperience that we get, right? How do we learn something? As you said that you develop yourself to become better in business, better at negotiations, and understanding your own voice, understanding your own empowerment that you possess, and that way working from this kind of place. But how do you get there unless you have the experience? And I think that one of the things that you had from the very beginning was that sheer enthusiasm, that positivity, that
That ended up
connection.
being ADHD, Matthew. I got
Beautiful. So
I got
ADHD is
diagnosed with that.
something that you didn't say that one earlier. What are the keys to business success? ADHD, bang.
ADHD, bang. In fact, most ADHD people are entrepreneurs, and that is because of that. So they say, and that is because of that ability to just go do it to some degree. Like my husband's more of a procrastinator, and so it's finding that sort of middle ground. But also, I would say I haven't done any of this journey on my own. I've had an amazing village all around me of good people that I ring in, all different time. I'll ring them crying. I'll ring them happy. I'll ring them to suss someone out that I think I may look at doing business with. And do you know this person? Having that is invaluable. You have to have a great network of your people, your mob around you that are going to be honest with you too.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the amazing parts of Aboriginal business, because we can share experiences, we can yarn, we can learn, we can grow. And the vessel, the enthusiasm, the motivation for doing what we do is most often very aligned, which then means we can support each other in that process.
Yeah, that has been key to helping my growth, but also like when I think, am I just being over like stubborn here, or is this my value and I've pushed it too far? And then I'll ring a really good friend and I go, I just told this person, and she'll, I won't do that because it was a non-Indigenous person who's ended up being really good, but he's being trained by two of us because there's a few that will just do anything that he was asking, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. That doesn't sit right with my values. Like, and when I ring my friend, she would say the same thing, and I'm like, okay, so I'm not being like arrogant or anything. I'm just sticking to me. So sometimes you have those questions, and it takes a good friend to do it. And so he really values me and another lady in business because I won't do things, and so now he just only comes to us. So it was a win all around because he learned that the proper cultural value way was to do things with us, or he could have gone for that easy, I'll just do whatever. And so if you find the right people, even non-Indigenous, and they listen, it actually ended up being a really good outcome. But I was quite happy to lose a lot of money, or not lose, but not earn a lot of money at the start. So yeah, they're important things. Stick to who you are, sleep well at night, and wake up and be able to look at yourself in the mirror.
Beautiful, Sharon. So stick to who you are, be able to sleep at night, and also be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it may not be, we all have our issues bodily. I meant who you are, like what decisions you've made, and be able to look and go, yeah, I made the right decision. Like I stuck to my values.
Yeah.
That it will go further. It's slower when you're learning, and it's slower, but it definitely is going to be a longer journey for me because of it, being truthful.
Beautiful. Yeah. Is there anything you would like to say to our listeners as we wrap this one up?
I guess I would say just try. Just try it. Like if I didn't try doing Cooee, and it doesn't mean it's your end, but I would say just try your idea. Even if it's just reaching out to a few people and asking them about it and doing it slowly, but give it a go. Just don't get in debt to give it a go.
Yeah, don't get in debt. And
not at the beginning.
I would love to add to that one, be enthusiastic, just like Sharon was and just like Sharon still is.